You want to show your kids what to expect when they're looking for a relationship is the most important thing. I want them to see a healthy relationship. I want them to see adults getting along and being happy. I want them to see partners that are loving and connected and just have these really strong foundations because that's what I want them to look for in their partners when they're growing up. They know that not everybody has two parents, not everybody has, a mother or a father. Sometimes their grandparents are raising them.
Mhm.
So we just have those discussions. We normalize being different, and different's fun and cool.
Hello, my bis and allies. I'm so excited to be back with another episode of Bisexual Behavior, a podcast made by and for all identities under the queer umbrella. I'm your host, Talia, a bi cis woman who could also go by pansexual but prefers the bi pride flag. I wanted to take a quick moment to thank you all for joining me again after a bit of a break. In full transparency, I was going through some physical and mental health stuff, but am slowly starting to feel better and get back into it. Before we get started, I wanted to wish you all a happy Pride Month and give you a bit of bi affirmations to remind you of how wonderful and valid you are. I know Pride Month can be a hard time for some of us who may feel like they aren't queer enough, or maybe they're not accepted within the LGBTQ community. Or maybe, like me, you've been spending a little bit too much time on TikTok or Reddit and are letting silly bisexual discourse get the best of you. I wanted to start off by saying Pride was a riot started by gay and bisexual BIPOC trans women fighting for our rights during the Stonewall riot. That's something we always need to remember. We are stronger by numbers, especially when we stick together as a community no matter how we identify. Secondly, if you hear criticisms of the bi plus identity, remember that those insults are coming from a deep place rooted in insecurity, misogyny, and internalized homophobia. To put it simply, biphobic people are losers who have lost the plot on what our community stands for. Who cares who a bi person dates? Who cares how someone identifies? You are still part of the community and are valid. Negative discourse against bi people or other groups is a tool to segregate us and distract us from people being stripped of their rights, people being taken from their homes, and mass genocide that's actively happening. Instead of arguing with each other online, we need to stand up for each other. We need to fight for our trans community, our immigrants, and our vulnerable communities. Fuck ICE, fuck Trump, and free Palestine. Now that I've gotten that off my chest, let's get into the episode. It was very important for me to release this episode during Pride Month because this interview felt like a full circle moment in my queer journey. A few months ago, I saw that one of my high school best friends has gotten married to a woman. We haven't spoken in over 10 years, but I knew she was married to a man at one point and had kids. I did decide to reach out to her to see if she'd be interested in being on the pod, and lucky for me, and for you, she was very down, and we had such a fun time recording this episode. We talked a lot about themes I think many of you will love to hear about or may even relate to, like polyamory, co-parenting, and coming out to a conservative family. I really loved hearing about how my friend Amanda built her own version of family and love, and it's just so powerful to hear. Honestly, this whole conversation healed my inner child. And just a quick note for listeners, the first 5 minutes or so of the interview were cut out and we had to change recording platforms, so that was fun, but we only missed about the initial introduction, so it really isn't much. So without further ado, here is a conversation with my high school best friend, Amanda. I'm going to start with that initial question because I think it got a little fucky at the point. Okay, so my favorite question to ask is for every guest is, what is your most bisexual behavior? And it could be obviously your most queer behavior, however you want to go about it, but just in general, what is that behavior that's special to you?
Special to me is different than the answer that I had. So I would say that my most queer behavior was that I was married to a man for 7 years, but actually attracted to women. But I would say, I don't know if that's I have like the most queer thing I've ever done, which is FaceTime my girlfriend at the time and her ex-girlfriend for like 6 hours on video chat. And we all just like had this like fun friend chat for hours. And it was just great. Like we all became like really best friends and it was just so fun. I just really loved it.
That's that's so gay. I love it. Oh my God. Are you still friends with her ex? Like, what is that dynamic like?
Yeah, we were friends for a while. Like we just she's like, in like a different state. So it's not like a close friendship. But yeah, we've talked on the phone forever and she was actually at our wedding and it was awesome. We all had a really good time. So it was fun.
That's amazing. Okay, so let's go back a little bit. You mentioned that you were married to a man for 7 years. I kind of remember this. I saw that you got married, and tell me a little bit about that and how like you met Tiffany and how that kind of like evolved over time. And also, did you know you were queer at that point, or was that a kind of a surprise to you during the marriage?
It was kind of a journey that I went on. So I always found myself kind of like having these behaviors that felt kind of like odd to me as a person. Like I didn't always like really fit in. Like I felt kind of like weird in women's locker rooms and things like that growing up. And looking back on it now, it makes sense, but it never really made sense to me at the time. And I just had a really, really hard time staying focused in a relationship. I always felt like something was missing, like there was just an element that I wasn't getting from relationships. And I had dated men exclusively. And I just had a really hard time connecting with my partners on a level that felt satisfied to me. Um, so I had a really hard time being faithful in a lot of my relationships, and so did my partners. We just had a really hard time in that sense. So when I met Adam, we were both like upfront about it in the beginning, and we both kind of like, we both know we have hard times in relationships. We're going to kind of feel this out, see how it works. And the two of us kind of created this bond over never really feeling fulfilled in any of our relationships. So I was dating him for a couple of years and I kind of fell into like we've been dating for a couple of years. The next step is marriage. The next step is having kids. And like we were going on this journey together and just kind of like going through the steps of like what you would do in like a normal relationship. And along the way, we kind of met friends that I was attracted to. Like, again, his ex-girlfriend, we were both like really good friends with. So we would have little times where like we would all go over and like she would do my makeup. And like every time she got close to me, I'd be like, why is my heart racing? Like, why am I sweating so much? Like, why am I so nervous?
Oh.
And it just kind of turned into this like attraction. So then we kind of just fell into this like poly world and we explored like
Oh.
seeing people together. So like we would date people together. So we both first it was like a purely physical thing. And I was like, oh, like I'm attracted to women, but like I could never date a woman, like trying to rationalize it in my brain. And then
I feel like that's how it starts.
exactly, exactly. So then found this that I worked with, and she had been dating a guy for like 7 years, and their relationship was kind of like rocky. And at this point, we had Jackson already, and we were in the process of moving to a bigger house so that we could have more kids. So she was breaking up with this guy, and they had a house together, and she was selling her house. So I was like, oh, well, why don't you just like move in with us? So she ended up moving in with us into this big house, and then we kind of formed this like poly relationship. So she would go on dates with other people, but she was seeing both of us at the same time. So we were all dating. So like he and her would go out on dates, and like me and her would go out on dates, and then we would like all go out on dates together. And it turned into this like a really awesome relationship. And we all had like really developed feelings for each other. And that was the first time I saw myself where I was like, oh, okay, like I can date women. Like I fell in love with this woman and I was like, this is out of pocket. I wasn't expecting this. And that was the first time I realized like I could have really true, fulfilling relationships with women. And it felt great and I really loved it. And then she ended up getting a really good job offer to travel and she ended up moving away. So then it was just Adam and I again um, for a while. And the two of us kind of talked about the fact that we really were not connecting sexually together. Like we kind of were just like seeking other partners at that point. And we had kind of become roommates, but like really good friends. So we
Mm.
could talk to each other about anything, we could go to each other for anything, but we just had a really hard time connecting physically. So we decided that we were going to get divorced, but we were still going to be like awesome co-parents with the kids. And still to this day, I mean, we're super amicable. And that in the process, sorry, I forgot to mention this. When we were dating Angela, I got pregnant with
Mhm.
Zoe. So Angela was kind of involved in raising
Okay.
Zoe with us, which was awesome. And it was super fun. So
Oh.
we had that whole experience. And then after Zoe, it was really, really hard for me to feel like myself in my own body. And I think that definitely had a part to do with it. So I kind of was having an identity crisis after that and trying to figure out who I was. So then in the process of our divorce, I was um, dating and he was dating as well. We never really stopped while we were married. We kind of just had this agreement that we were going to see other people. Um,
Mhm.
so I met Tiffany, and Tiffany was also getting divorced. Um, I was not willing to admit to myself at that point that my relationship was over with Adam. It was kind of like in the works, like we had talked about it, but it never really was like the legal process hadn't started yet because I had a really hard time admitting to myself that that part of my life was over. I was in this like identity
I get that.
situation. So I met Tiffany and she really helped me figure myself out. We went on our first date and we clicked instantaneously. Like it was like I said this in my vows. It was like she unlocked a part of my brain that I didn't really know existed. And like I had loved other people before and I've had other relationships before, but none of them really felt whole to me. And when I met her, it was just like my whole world made sense. And I'm gonna cry.
Oh my God,
um,
I'm gonna cry.
it would just everything made sense to me. I knew who I was. She helped me find who I was. She reassured me in those feelings. She helped me kind of find an identity that wasn't attached to someone else. I finally was willing
Mhm.
to come out to my family, tell them everything that had been going on over the years. I was like, this is the girl, this is it, this is what I want. And I wanted everyone to know it. I wanted the whole world to know that she was the person that I was going to marry and I loved her. And I don't care what anybody said about it. And it was tough because a lot of my family doesn't talk to me anymore because of that. Like, grandparents and stuff like that. But I mean,
No.
I found so much. I feel so fulfilled in other ways in my relationship and in my life. And I'm just so proud of who I am. And I've never been happier. And I just love myself so much more than I did before. And I just,
That makes me so happy. Oh my gosh. You're
it
like
just means
radiating
everything
telling
to
me
me.
this.
Yeah. I'm so happy. She means the world to me. And that's kind of how I found myself. She helped me find myself. And, my past relationship helped me realize that it's okay to not be mainstream. Like we grew up in a very conservative
Mhm.
world and we were very sheltered and we
Yeah.
really didn't see that other things were available to us. So it was hard growing up in that kind of environment.
Yeah. One of the things you mentioned, like how you had a little bit of challenges like with your family. I
Hmm.
remember you have a very big family. You have a lot
Yep.
of siblings. Like you literally have like, what is it, the triplets that I think they were born when we were in like sixth grade.
They just turned 21.
I remember that's, oh my God, we're so
Yeah.
old.
I
That's
know.
that's crazy. That's crazy. What?
Yeah, it's
No.
wild.
I literally remember they were babies watching TV, like, we had them in front of the TV and we were,
Yep.
like, in high school or no, maybe
Yep.
middle school or whatever. That's
Crazy.
crazy.
Yeah.
But anyway, I remember your parents, like, your family in general is, like, a little bit more on the conservative side, and
Mhm.
I'm, like, curious because you mentioned that so you don't talk to some of your family members, like,
Mhm.
in general, how have your, your parents and your siblings been throughout the journey, and how did you kinda go about telling them?
My siblings are like totally on board. So before I had met Tiffany, my or no, it was like right when I met her. My 30th birthday was kind of like I'm gonna present this idea to my siblings. So like we had this like blow up pool party and like Angela was there and I was not necessarily hiding anything. So like, we were like touchy-feely at the party. So my siblings obviously had questions. Yeah, so this was like,
Mhm.
this had to have been the year before I met Tiffany. Um, and they kind of just like slowly came up to me and they were like, hey, what is this situation? And I was like, oh, I'm gay.
Seems a little gay.
And
Yes.
I was like, oh, so I am. So I came out to my siblings first, and they kind of like kept it under wraps for like the next year. So like just my sibling
Mhm.
group knew. Um, and then I didn't really come out to my family until later. Um, they were pretty shocked at first. And I was like, I understand that this may come as a shock to you, but if you look back, I was living with a woman for the past 2 years, and you guys didn't have any questions. Like,
Yeah, right? That seems like a pretty dead giveaway,
and
I
like
would
they knew
say.
about it. And she was at the point where like she was coming to the family functions and like she was hanging out, and my parents
Oh
really
my
liked
God.
her. They just like assumed that she was my best friend, which I mean she was, but they didn't ask, so I didn't say it. And that's kind of like how we were going
Denial
about
is a river, as they say.
it. Exactly. Exactly. So it kind of all came out when Tiffany and I went to our first pride together, and we had so much fun, and we like took pictures of the kids and everything. And then I was like, all right, like I'm gonna do it. And then I had this like social media, like, what do you call it when you like slow launch basically? So like I posted these
Yeah.
things
Mhm.
on media, and my grandparents, my grandfather specifically was like commenting on him, and he was like, this is so disgusting, how could you support this, like blah blah blah. So like immediately my grandmother called up like my whole family and was like crying on the phone telling everybody like, I can't believe like she supports this and I'm blah
Oh my
blah.
God.
And yeah, so I don't speak to any of that part of the family, and they're all blocked on social media. um
Don't
but
blame you one bit.
yeah, but honestly, like these were not people that were like in my group. These were people that I saw at like some family functions and things like that. Like it wasn't like my core group. Um, my parents have met Tiffany. She's been to a bunch of things. They like her. I think they love spending time with her, and they love spending time with me, and they love spending time with the whole family. And I don't know how to put this. They just don't talk about it. Like
It
I don't
takes
know.
steps, right?
Yeah. So I don't necessarily know if they're like, they're not allies. They wouldn't like, be sporting pride flags at Pride, but they like spending time with all of us together. So they don't talk about it. I don't know. It's
Which it's hard though. I'm sure that like it's nice that they don't completely shut you out and that they want to see
yeah,
Tiffany. So that's really nice.
yeah,
I mean, maybe eventually it will change. Maybe eventually
exactly.
they'll come around to it, or maybe like, maybe one of your other siblings will come out, and then they'll be like, "Well, shit, all right, I've got to just get
Exactly.
on board with this."
We had like a small ceremony too. Like we literally rented a cabin in the woods and got married in the middle of nowhere and just had like a small group of friends there. But like my little brother and his wife married us. They were phenomenal. We just had a few friends there.
Oh,
It was awesome. It was perfect. And my little siblings were all like, hey, send us pictures. Like, we want to see, what's going on. And so I sent their pictures in the group chat. Everybody was super supportive. So my siblings are like right there. They're amazing. They're awesome. My parents are going to take a little time. They were, straight and narrow, conservative household growing up. So church every
mhm.
Sunday, but they're warming up to the idea. It's just taking them a long time. I think he'll get there eventually. It's just going to
Yeah.
take time.
Well, I commend you for dealing with that because that can be really hard. Because I know, like, when I came out, I was like still with like a boyfriend from years ago, and they were good about it, but it's still, I think it brings up a lot of questions and a lot of like, how did you not know that until now? You're with a man.
Yeah.
I think especially by like, if you're not gay from the start, like if you're
Yes.
bisexual or whatever and you've dated men, I think people just get confused by it. It's like it's harder to explain. It feels like you're talking about something sexual when really you're talking about just who you are in general.
Yes.
So that can be really hard. One other thing that you were talking about is being polyamorous in your
Yeah.
previous marriage.
Mhm.
What did that kind of look like when you started that conversation? Like you mentioned that you both weren't really feeling fulfilled like
Mhm.
sexually, and you were kind of like both had histories of maybe like wanting to see other people and just kind of wanting to keep it open. But like, what were those conversations like? And did you feel like
you had to constantly have conversations about it? Like what kept it kind of like healthy from your perspective?
So I wouldn't necessarily call it healthy from the start. We had a lot of trouble because neither one
Okay.
of us really knew what we were doing. So we were kind of just like feeling it out as it went. And I feel like honesty was a really big issue when we were
Mhm.
kind of, navigating this together. So the conversation never really happened until after we were sleeping with his ex. And then after that, we were kind of just like, oh, this is an isolated event. And then it was a couple times, and it was like, okay, this is just something we do with this person. And then slowly it kind of developed into this, we should probably have conversations about this. And I was like, I don't really care what you do as long as you tell me. And it was kind of set up for the same
Mhm.
expectation for me. And for the most time when we were married, we kind of just sought out the same people to date. So we kind of formed this like polycule situation. So it was always like me and
Mhm.
him and a third person that we were dating all together. Um, and it took lots of conversations. It took lots of looking at yourself and seeing your own insecurities and facing your own insecurities like jealousy and what your love languages are and how you can communicate with your partner better and how you can really spend the time that you have with each partner individually and make it the best of that time. So it was a lot to figure out, and I don't think that any one or two
Yeah.
people's journey looks the same, but I think that the biggest thing that you can do for yourself is just be straight up honest, and that was a big factor, and it kind of at the end was part of like the reason why it was crumbling. It's really hard to be honest all the time with your partner about things that you're doing
Mhm.
with your partner, and it you kind of have to set the boundary of like, what am I willing to hear, what do I want to hear, what do I need to hear, and like, that kind of thing. So it's a lot of conversations all the time, and it's constantly changing. Relationships constantly change, so
Mhm.
your the
So
rules
true.
have to change and your rules have to be flexible, and you really have to establish good solid boundaries. Otherwise, people are going to get jealous, it's going to fall apart, it's not going to be healthy. So that's
Yeah, I feel like you also have to have like feel a confidence in yourself to some degree, or
oh,
like
for sure.
have some kind of emotional maturity to have that be successful.
For sure.
But yeah, I'm curious, do you see that as something that you would consider at some point in your life in the future, or was that just kind of part of that relationship and it made sense at that point in your life?
We've talked about it a little bit. I think that it's definitely going to have to be more conversations that we have down the road if it were to be an option, but I don't think it's something that either one of us are necessarily closed off to. I think it's just we're pretty much both in support of whatever makes the other person happy and whatever makes our relationship the best that it can be. We kind of just have to have those conversations. Like I said, most of it is just, sorry, Coda. Most of it is just
You're fine.
really being honest with yourself and being honest with your partner in what you want.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And I think I really like what you say about it being focused on making your relationship and yourself happy and kind of putting those pieces together as time goes on. I think like also it sounds like you both have a very strong relationship now, and whatever you decide in the future, you have that strong base, which I think is so important, especially if you're considering opening your relationship.
Mhm.
But yeah, another thing that you mentioned that I do want to ask about is you mentioned specifically co-parenting, and I'm
Yes.
curious like what that looks like for you and your wife. Like how does that all work?
So we all work medical jobs of sorts. His partner is a lawyer, but Tiffany works in EMS, Adam works EMS, and I work in medicine as well. So all of us work 12 to 24-hour
Mhm.
shifts. So he has them on Mondays and Tuesdays when he has when he's off. I have them on Thursdays and Fridays with Tiffany. And then Wednesdays are a split between him and I. So we kind of alternate, and then we switch weekends. So it's Wednesdays and weekends that we swap them. And currently, oh, you're going to love this part. So currently, we're all sharing the same house as far as kids go. So the kids don't leave.
Oh, okay.
And then right now, we are in the process of him and his partner getting a different house. But right now, they're staying at her parents because they have another house in Florida that they stay in for the winter. So on Mondays and Tuesdays, him and his partner stay here in the guest room right now, and they have custody and get the kids on the bus and do all the things while Tiffany and I are working. And then Wednesdays are kind of a toss up depending on who's here, depending on whose day it is. And then Tiffany and I are here Thursday and Friday. Um, and then weekends we switch back and forth. So he'll take them to his partner's parents' house and hang out there and like do sleepovers there on his weekends, or, they'll be with us in this house if it's our weekend. But we have a family calendar. It's like a Google shared calendar. We have a family shared group chat. We really communicate well. We do holidays together. We do birthday parties together. So we really make it cohesive for the kids. It's really about what makes them have the best life. And we all are aware of that. And we all work together to make sure that's what the priority is. So when we do have differences, we try to put them aside because what we have going on is not important. It's mostly about what we want for them and, the life we want to have for them. So, I mean, having shared birthday parties and shared holidays just means you get more time with the kids. So we're all willing to go in. I mean, we're all having Easter brunch together and we're doing a big Easter egg hunt and having family dinner together. So it's all about what you want to get out of life. Whatever you put in, you're going to get back.
I love what you said about it being about your kids, because I feel like sometimes when things get complicated and parents are unhappy or they are happy, they're just exploring different things. Like, I think that sometimes it's really hard to prioritize the right things. And I love what you're saying. It sounds like you guys really like have your shit together with planning things, like, which is really
We
like
really
impressive.
try. We really try.
How do you think, how are your kids, like, how old are they?
They are 4 and 6. They just had birthdays.
Okay. Oh, happy birthday to them. How do you like go about talking to them about relationship dynamics and things looking different than, like the traditional conservative households?
They really don't question it. They know, they have like different
Nice.
books that we bought them growing up that's like, everybody's body is different, everybody's family is different. There's like, you know, I love the body positive books that we get them because it's like, I have a body, you have one too, yours belongs to me, or mine belongs to me and
Mhm.
yours belongs to you. Like there's like little rhyming books.
I love
And then like
those.
the family's book is like, um, this is what my families look like. Some kids have two mommies, some kids have two daddies, some kids have like grandparents, and it's just like really good books, and they've always had it be a part of their lives. So like I said, we had Angela in the house when they were super little, and they both, or she moved out when they were both still little, so they didn't really, grasp that concept fully, but they've always known that it wasn't just Adam and I. It was like kind of like it takes a village type of concept. And they've always had Tiffany. I mean, Jackson was 2, I think, or maybe not even when he met her. And Zoe was 2. Jackson was 3 because they're only like a year apart, less than a year. So they met her super young, and she's always been a part of their life. So they've always seen us together, and we've always prioritized making sure that our kids see us happy. So Tiffany and I are not afraid to be like, kissy, touchy-feely in front of them because we want them to know that we're happy. And Adam and his partner are just very, the same way. They're affectionate in front of the kids. So they see different relationship dynamics. I mean, they see all of us getting along, all of us talking. And I think that's really important. You want to show your kids what to expect when they're looking for a relationship is the most important thing. I want them to see a healthy relationship. I want them to see adults getting along and being happy. I want them to see partners that are loving and connected and just have these really strong foundations, because that's what I want them to look for in their partners when they're growing up. And they have different dynamics in school as well. Jackson has, different dynamics in his classroom. They know that not everybody has two parents, not everybody has, a mother or a father. Sometimes their grandparents are raising them.
Mhm.
So we just have those discussions. We normalize being different, and different's fun and cool.
I'm like getting emotional. It's kind of crazy though, because like, again, the last time we talked, we were both so different. We both
Yeah.
thought we were straight.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like funny that seeing the way that you're talking so eloquently about it now, I'm just like, oh my God, you have really gone through such an incredible journey. And I'm like curious. So you mentioned kind of that like there were signs
Mm-hmm.
like before, but like what kind of specifically when you were in high school that you're looking back, you're like, how the hell did I not know? Because I know
So
when I looked back, there were like, at first I was like, there's no way that I'm like bisexual or gay. And then
yeah,
looking back, I'm like, oh my God, I had crushes on like these girls or like whatever. And I had
yeah.
no idea.
I feel like a lot of our dynamics with the four of us were like dating relationships almost. Like we would get jealous when
Oh my
one of
God.
us would like friends or like, when we had a sleepover, we would all be like spooning each other, like and like
I
come
know.
to find out, like straight people don't do that. And I'm just like, they don't.
They don't. They don't. I'm like convinced that everyone's queer from our like friend group. I not like trying to out anyone at all. I'm just like I'm just
Yeah,
very confident that we all were probably queer. Like that there's no denying it.
it's a spectrum, like
It's a spectrum,
where you are.
100%.
I was gonna say the locker
I
room
was
thing
gonna
in gym
oh
and
yeah.
or
Mhm.
drama or whatever, it would be like I'm nearly trying to like avert your, I'm like, okay, like blinders, like avert your eyes, like, kind of thing. And I thought that was just the thing. Like you respect
Mhm.
people, like you don't look at them, while they're changing. And it was like, oh, it's because
Nope,
I'm gay.
just a little gay. Just a little bit.
Yeah.
I like also look back. This is kind of, I don't know if you were here for this, but there was like one point where we were hanging out by a waterfall. I think it was like, you definitely weren't there because I don't know if we talked about it, but like we all decided to make out to like practice kissing for guys. And I was like, this is really fun. This is a great time.
Yeah.
And I think back, like our friendship, like dynamic in general is kind of like not like totally sexual, but kind of like a little bit, like a little
Touchy-feely.
hypersexual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just remember always like when we were in drama, like we all like had each other's heads on our laps and like playing with each other's hair and just like, always like laying on somebody or leaning on somebody or, just we were very
Hmm.
touchy-feely growing up. And I just thought that that's how people were. I'm like, people don't do that.
My sister would be like, "Your friends, like you're all obsessed with each other." And like she would make fun of me a lot. And like it's funny because we didn't really have like a friend breakup. I think we just went off to college and
Yeah.
like that's what it was. But I feel like there was like some people in particular in the friend group where we literally like had friend breakups where we would fight and it was like a traumatic thing. And I still like think about it like all the time. I'm like, oh my God, I wonder how she's doing. Like I feel like I wonder if like she still thinks of it as the same way I think of it. And it's just like
Yeah.
kind of a confusing thing to navigate when you're young and like especially when you're like finally kind of come to your senses with your queerness and you're like,
Yeah.
oh man, that was something very different than like just friends fighting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Looking back, there's been signs.
It's just crazy. So so you mentioned that you go to like a lot of like you went to Pride. What other ways are you like immersed in the queer community now that you are like fully out to your family and your friends and all of that?
So Tiff and I have a dodgeball group that we're a part of, and it's Pride Sports right now. That's the company that we're with, but it's this giant dodgeball league in Albany of like 300 queer people. And we have like tournaments and games and stuff every Saturday, and it is so much fun playing. Or I'm sorry, it's kickball. It's kickball. There's a dodgeball and a kickball league, but I'm talking about
Okay.
kickball.
Okay.
And
Okay.
we just
Okay.
have so much fun every Saturday. I have met so many new friends. And through that friend group, we've now like gotten together a couple times. Like we did the gay gingerbread party where we all made like different gingerbread houses. And we're doing a all women's lesbian female fantasy league, which I'm super excited about this upcoming season. And we just did murder mystery night, and it was just, a bunch of like queer people doing a murder mystery. It was phenomenal, so much fun. And we just formed
I
so many.
haven't even heard of that.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's great. It was so much fun. So we just have formed a lot of
I love
friendships
that.
from just this one thing that we've joined, this kickball league. And we've just have fallen in love with so many people and made like these great friendships. And it's phenomenal. We've done, a couple when we lived in Pittsfield at her house for a little while. We did drag story time out there, and the kids were part of drag story time. And we would go there and read stories, and they would give away free books to kids. So we try to immerse ourselves in the queer world a little bit here and there. It's nice to be around like-minded people and just be able to be yourself and truly express who you
100%.
are. It's necessary for sure.
It's so important. And I feel like surrounding yourself with people who have the same values as you, and, you can still be different at the end of the day, but it's just like having other people who are in the LGBT community. It's so important. Like, it's just, I feel like it's life changing for a lot of people. And
Sure.
Zoom is starting to yell at me. So I want to ask you one last question.
Sure.
And that is, so what advice would you give to someone who, like, this could be like your younger self or anyone who maybe they're in a marriage right now, or, they're in a relationship with someone they feel like not maybe fulfilled and kind of just confused and just like unsure what to do. What kind of advice would you give them?
I would say it's going to be a difficult journey, but you should just definitely do something that is unapologetically for you. Look at yourself, see who you are, how you feel. And if you're feeling like you need some more clarity, some more time, there's nothing wrong in having those conversations with your partner if you're with a partner, or, having those conversations with yourself and just being honest with yourself. What am I looking for? What am I missing? Is there something that I might not be seeing that is going to make me feel more fulfilled? It's all about just unapologetically being yourself. And that kind of starts from within. It starts with answering questions for yourself. Who am I? Like, what am I doing? Am I happy? Do I
Mhm.
feel happy in my body? And I never really truly knew the answers to those questions until I was fully out, fully, it just feels so freeing to get all of that off your chest and just to be who you are and be proud of who you are. And I've never, like I said, I've never loved myself more than I do now. I've never felt more myself than I do now. I have never been in a better spot mentally. It's so freeing to be yourself. And it felt like a weight was lifted off my shoulders when I was finally honest with myself. And it's scary and it's hard and people are going to hate it. And just who cares? Like, people that don't like it shouldn't have been in your corner to begin with because they're not in your corner. People that are in your corner will truly see you for who you are, and they will see the changes in you. They'll see the changes in your attitude, the changes in I feel like so many people have said to me, you're so, like, you just radiate happiness now. And I felt like I was in such a monotonous bubble of my life that was so hard to break out of because I just didn't want to hurt people. And it was a really hard journey. It's going to be tough, but stick it out. And on the other side, there's a you that's beautiful and waiting to just be seen. And I feel like I see me and Tiffany sees me, and she just really is everything that I need. She really helps me be who I always was meant to be, but too afraid to be. And it's so much
Mhm.
better on the other side.
Hell yeah. Amanda, this has like healed my inner child. I feel like it's,
Oh,
it's crazy.
I love
It's
that.
just like, I feel like it's so reassuring to hear somebody from my past like talking like this and just seeing your journey. And
It's
it's
validating.
really like inspiring. It's validating. Yes. And I love this. Thank you so much for joining the show. I
Of
think we
course.
should probably like catch up outside of this. I would
Yeah.
love to meet your wife. I'm like
Yeah.
so amped up about this,
She's
but
amazing. You'll
thank
love
you.
her.
This has been such a beautiful conversation. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Of course. Anytime. This was great. I really enjoyed myself. So thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you all for listening to this month's episode of Bisexual Behavior and for supporting the show. Of course, thank you to Amanda for joining me and for being so open and vulnerable. You can continue to support the show by subscribing to Bisexual Behavior on all your favorite podcast apps and by giving us a rating and review. Stay up to date on the show by following us on Instagram at Bisexual Behavior, and you can follow me at talia.tatiana. I hope you all have a great Pride Month and get to celebrate. We'll see you next month. Okay, bye!